viola faculty at Willamette here in Salem, Oregon, and I just wanted to welcome you limited number of people from the Willamette community and all of you who may be catching this on the Willamette YouTube channel as a broadcast. I'm really, really excited about this program. It is music that I absolutely love. That was not written for the viola, my instrument. And I put these pieces together partially because, you know, I found, and especially talking to my students and to members of audiences of concerts, you know, I think we can all agree that the more effort and energy and time and investment we put into music, the more it gives us back. And I feel this way absolutely with the pieces on today's program. One of them was written for cello, this first one that we've got on our program. And I think all of you have program notes, so you can kind of follow along with this suite for cello, Bach's first cello suite, that is a prelude and a set of dances. Now, this particular piece, the first time that I played it, I had only been playing viola for a handful of months because I played violin earlier, and I was using this piece to learn how to read the open strings in alto clef. That was a number of decades ago, and all I can say is that at this point in my life, after having lived with this piece for such a long time, I find myself coming back and coming back and coming back to it almost daily because it's something that gives me so much joy to play and so it gives me so much joy to hear the instrument. So without further ado, here is the first cello suite by Bach, written about 1720, played on viola. that many violists, most violists have played, to a piece that is very, very rarely done on viola. The next piece on our program, right before our intermission, which will be about 10 minutes long, is a solo sonata for violin by Eugene Ysaÿe. And Ysaÿe was a Belgian violinist, kind of in the line of Paganini and Vuitton and Joseph Joachim and all of these wonderful violin soloists who were just amazing at their instruments. And the thing with Ysaÿe that I find is a bit of an issue as a violist is that he did not write string quartets, which is where I spend most of my time when I'm playing with Delgani String Quartet, or in symphonic music, let alone viola sonatas or pieces for solo viola. So in order to play Ysaÿe's music, you really kind of have to delve into these 6 sonatas that he wrote for solo violin. This one is a little bit weird. It is the third of the 6th, which is nicknamed Ballade, and Ballade being kind of like an epic journey of sorts. And I think that it's really interesting to me that this piece was written by a violinist, because I think in a lot of ways the sound he's going for is a lot more than you get on 4 strings of our normal violin, viola, cello, or bass. There's one point in the 3rd line that I'm looking at right now where he writes 6 notes stacked vertically, and you have to figure out how to get all of those 6 notes to make sense at the same time-ish with the only 4 strings that you've got on the instrument. But I think that ultimately, kind of like we'll hear in the Bach violin partita in the second half, is that really there's just so much of the imagination of harmony and of interplay and of counterpoint that these composers are thinking of for the 4-stringed instrument that really they cannot be contained by what's there. So you'll hear a lot of 2 notes at once, 3 notes at once, 4 notes at once, and it can be a little overwhelming to the ear. So if you haven't heard this before, what I say to you is good luck, and good luck to me too. So it starts out with an introduction that kind of starts in the mire and in the muck, and it kind of then emerges after about 2 minutes of introduction into the real force of the movement, of a really lovely and fiery swing that kind of goes back and forth between a lot of different characters throughout this movement. So 8 minutes long. This is Eugene Ysaÿe's 3rd violin sonata, played on viola, written in 1924, somewhere in the 1920s. Here we go. this concert has been a bit of an experiment and a bit of a risk, especially having two enormous pieces that I had never learned before on this program, the Ysaÿe and this upcoming second partita. But they're both pieces that I had wanted to learn for a very long time. And honestly, when I grew up listening to the Chaconne and hearing wonderful violinists play it on recordings and videos and a couple of them in recital, you know, I thought, that seems like it's not gonna work so well for viola. There's a lot going on, and it's a long movement that is the end of a whole partita. And when I was doing my master's degree at Manhattan School of Music, I remember sitting there in studio class, and the doctoral candidate that day walked in and played through the whole second partita, and I thought in my brain, oh my gosh, it is possible. So that was now, oh my gosh, like 10 years ago. But I am so grateful that, you know, things that I thought were impossible for a long time, then I was inspired by fellow musicians, as we often are. So this particular partita is one of 3 partitas. It's a set of 6, 3 sonatas and 3 partitas that Bach wrote for violin. And the sonatas are different from the partitas in the number of movements and the types of music that you have, partially because the partitas use the same types of dances that we have in the cello suites. And as violists, we oftentimes play the cello suites. So the cello suites are ones that I've played and taught and performed throughout my career. And the partitas are done much less. But I think that there's a lot that we gain out of having just some experience with these dances. So just bear with me for a second, because I want to take you through a little bit of these dances, which you've already heard in the first suite, and that you'll hear some of in the second partita. So in the first suite, we had a prelude, as all the cello suites do, and then they have a set of dances. In the partita, there's no prelude. You just jump right into the Allemande. And the Allemande is a dance that has a lot of flowing notes, a lot of fast notes, but I consider it to be a very slow dance. And I mean, that's just me. People consider it to be a slow dance, which to me feels like a lot of curtsying and bowing. There's a gracefulness that goes along with that dance. And in a lot of ways, to me, it feels, and especially living in Oregon as we do, there's lots of rivers, and there's even the mill stream right on campus on the other side of the hall. And so, you know, when you imagine a river and the water flowing, and sometimes it goes off in one direction, and sometimes it swirls off into another direction, to me, there's a lot of that movement in that momentum that feels right for the Allemande. The second dance that we get is the Courante, and this is always a jumping dance with a lot of leaps in the instrument. If you remember that was the one that we had in the first suite. But in this one in particular, I'm just going to give you how I think of this Courante, which you can use if you like as you're listening to it, but you don't have to. I think that this Courante feels a lot like a very joyful mountain goat, because there's a lot of leaping and landing. So you can kind of listen for that motion both upwards and the landing of the jump in the Courante. Then we have the Sarabande, which is the slow movement. And I always find for partitas and suites, the cello suites, that the Sarabande is really the emotional heart of the whole suite. It is the one that oftentimes to me feels the most peaceful and sometimes feels the most profound. Then we have a Gigue, which is always a rousing dance that has a lot of bounciness to it and has a lot of swagger to it. This one in particular in this partita is non-stop. So once it gets going, it rolls and rolls until the end. And normally that's the end of the suite if you're playing the Bach cello suites. And in this partita, of course, once you've made it through that set of dances, you have a 15-minute chaconne at the end. So that the chaconne oftentimes is performed as a standalone piece, but I think when it anchors this partita, you know, it is a whole journey unto itself. Feeling, to me, at least as a quartet musician, often like the way that Beethoven's Great Fugue would feel if you listened to his late Opus 130 quartet. But in this particular Chaconne, I think it works actually really well for the viola because there's a lot of depth that you get in this whole second partita. And I think especially the amount of gravitas that you get out of the C string works really well in the Chaconne. There's basically 3 different sections that we have, and each one, the end of it, is kind of marked by this type of music that he writes. That is this arpeggiation. And I think that this is one of those places, like we were talking about with Ysaÿe, imagining more sound than you would expect out of a 4-stringed instrument. These sections feel to me like very much a sound that Bach would have in his ears being an organist. To me, it has a lot of that harmony. You've got the top voices, you've got the bottom voices. You imagine Bach at the organ with all these manuals going and all these stops, 2 hands, feet going, and being the virtuoso organist that he was. But I think that wash of sound, especially in a lovely place like this Hudson Hall, that, again, thinking beyond the 4 strings of the instrument. So, Bach's second partita for violin, played on viola, written about 1720, around the same time as the first cello suite, with the Chaconne at the end.